So in this video, I want to talk to you about trying to give birth in our survival mode, which ultimately does not work. So what I mean by this is when we drop back into our survival mode, it's where we are in our fight or flight mode, which is often commonly called, which means that we are instinctively we're almost giving in, so we're not acting with our natural body's rhythm. We're actually doing the opposite. We're trying to pull away, we're trying to fight or flight ultimately. But there's four that I want to talk to you about today. So obviously we've got our flight response, which is where we might feel anxious, we might feel agitated, we want to move away from the situation, we want to pull ourselves back from, oh, we don't want to give birth, we're not ready, we don't feel ready, my body's not ready, my baby's not ready. We try and pull away from that response. So that is our flight. So that is where we're not naturally relaxing and letting the process happen. We're trying to resist it. Now, this would be good if we were in the wild and we were being chased by a wild bear, I always use the reference of, and we're wanting to obviously run away from the situation. That would be flight, because we want to get out of that unsafe situation, which means our body naturally wouldn't give birth because obviously it knows that we are under threat and we want to move away from that situation. So that's number one. Number two is our fight. So this is where we might get really angry about things, if we're starting to feel pain, we might get really angry and aggressive about it, which again means that the blood rushes to our fists and our feet, because we're going to punch and kick and hit. And that is obviously our fight response. But which would be great again if it was a wild bear around and we needed to fight them, then obviously the blood wouldn't go to our uterus to help push the baby out, it would go to our hands and feet to be able to fight. But again, in labour, that is not going to help us reach the oxygen in the blood that's needed to get to our womb to be able to push the baby out. So the other two that are not so commonly talked about is our freeze response, which is where, a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, we freeze. So what that means in terms of labour is that we become where we can't make a decision for ourselves, we can't advocate for ourselves anymore, we become overwhelmed with the situation, we don't know what to do. So when we decide, we might need some more pain relief, we just can't make the decision on what pain relief we want to try. We can't think straight, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So this becomes our freeze response. Again, when we freeze, it means our body doesn't know what we want to do. So if we can't tell our brain what we want to do, how can we possibly tell our body what we want to do? So this is where education and control comes in to have before you give birth, so that you feel like you're in full control of the situation, so you're not going to freeze, because you're going to be prepared for every single eventuality. And the last one is fawn, and this is one that not many people have heard of. So as I say, we've got our flight, fight, freeze and fawn. And fawn means when we basically give our whole entire everything over to someone else to take control of the situation. And this happens so often in birth because we trust the medical team, we trust everyone around us, that they know best for us, even our birth partners. So often we just become where actually a cabbage lying on the bed because we're not choosing to make decisions for ourselves anymore, and we ultimately just want everyone else around us to take control. So as you can see, in labour, this is not going to happen, because it is you who is in control of your birth. It is you who has given birth. So whether you want to take, the responsibility and give it to somebody else to do, ultimately it's down to you to give birth. So the fawn response is not helpful in this situation, because you can't give the power or the birth to somebody else. You obviously have to tackle it yourself. So these are the four responses: flight, fight, freeze and fawn are the things that we're trying to get rid of before we go into labour and be in control of while in labour, so that we can relax, release oxytocin to start the contractions, to get our baby down and out of our body, preferably as quickly as possible. So I hope that makes sense.